Hello and good day. Welcome to the Super Good Camping Podcast. My name is Pamela.
I'm Tim.
And we are from supergoodcamping.com. We are here because we are on a mission to inspire other families to enjoy camping adventures such as we have with our kids. Today's guest is a super nice guy from the Canadian province of Quebec. He is on the go all the time. He has a full-time job, works side jobs, is a husband and a dad to 2 daughters, creates fantastic content on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and manages to spend an enviable amount of time in the great outdoors. Please welcome Marty Morissette. Hey, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. You've got that intro down path. I've been for the past couple of days, like listening to just catching up on making sure I understand the podcast really well. And I was like, man, she does this every time.
Hang on,
right
I know
on it, right?
We did. We had Camping with the Coles on, and they thought for sure it was a pre-recorded bit that we just stuck in the front. No, it's a new one every time.
It just keeps it smooth.
Yeah, when I have to shoot my intros, I usually have to do them 3-4 times for my videos, so it's good.
Well, 60 some odd episodes later, we better have it down pat. So
yeah, for sure.
Practice.
There you go. So the first thing I want to say is I'm amazed. You are a fantastic storyteller, and I'm not wickedly familiar with it. Like I haven't watched all of your stuff. It's where we find
There's
ourselves
too much out there.
And exactly that. So
He tries his best to watch as much as he can.
I do. And my boss is like, okay, what are you watching now? No, I'm working. I swear to God, I'm working. I don't know how you do it. The story is exactly what it should be. Like it feels very much you already had the story, you shot a bunch of stuff, and then you edited to fit the narrative that you were looking to do. But you shot it knowing what the narrative was, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, you don't know about somebody's canoe turning sideways and going over or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That gets slotted in, but it's like you already knew what you wanted to tell in a story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's what I first off, it's an amazing compliment. Like becoming a good storyteller is something I've worked at for a long time. Like it's so interesting to me because, today I make short films or videos or whatever it is. But yesterday I used to write songs. And then, before I used to write, and then I used to like creating has been very much a part of my ethos and a part of what I do on a day-to-day basis since I'm 12. It's just, I just picked up a guitar when I was 12, and then it was just like there was Marty before figuring out he was a creator, and then Marty after he figured out he was a creator. And it's interesting because the idea of storytelling only came to me when I started to make videos, because it's a lot more obvious that what you're doing when you're shooting a film or videos that you're trying to tell a story compared to when you're writing a song. But when I look back at all the things I've done creatively, from writing music to theater, to musical theater and all that kind of stuff, it's always been about the story. And really, when you dig even deeper into who I am and where I come from and what motivates me in life, what you realize is it all stems from stories. That's why for me, story is very valuable, because I think it drives a lot of our behavior and it provides a lot of meaning into our lives. And so for me as a content creator, when I started this, it was important that I become a good storyteller. And it's the quest of my life, and it's nowhere near done, but it's just good to hear that people are appreciating it, because it is intentional, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yes, it's I would assume, that something that's a quest like that, if it's ever over, that's kind of a bummer. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's never over. I would say that you're on the road to success. Like it's seriously. So for sake of argument, I watched, you've got a, what do you call it in YouTube? I don't know if it's a playlist. You've got like a 5 video. Here's what my channel's kind of
Mhm.
about. Here's what I do.
Yeah. My channel in 5 videos is called
Okay,
the
perfect.
playlist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah, that's fine.
And it's great. It's a wonderful mix. It's winter camping. It's my favorite one, just for the record, because I have a bit of a thing about being a dad.
Yeah.
out with the kids,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
doing the canoe trip, doing the
Yeah.
class 3 rapids. That was awesome. We will circle back to that because that was phenomenal. But doing like the tarp shelters, doing Mount Washington, cool stuff, crazy stuff. It's all still really, really good stories. Tarps. So doing something that's not a tent, doing
Yeah.
tarp as a shelter, packing light, whatever that needs to play out as. I watched it going. It's still a really good story. Like it's instructional, but you're
Yeah.
telling a story. Like, look at this, check this out. Here's whatever that last one was. That it
Yeah.
starts with a
The
G.
Ganya shelter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that you literally went from a tarp shelter into turning it into a tent with a vestibule and stuff.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was so awesome. And
Yeah. It's
and
good.
well, but it's like that's why I'm a junkie for that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I want to try that. I want to do that. I want to do all the things. Can somebody pay me? Because I would give my job up to go and do that stuff. That'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
Being that
There's
you're a guy that's on the go all the time, how do you okay, other than only sleeping like a couple hours a night, how do you find the time to get out there and do all that stuff, man?
uh, it's such a good question. The time thing is the one I get the most. Um, it's it's very it's a lifestyle. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. It's a lifestyle. There's pros and cons to it. You know what I mean? Like it does comes at a cost, like anything else in life, and that's the reality of it. My life has always been powered and fueled by my passion and where my enthusiasm takes me. And it's interesting. And I'm gonna quote this off the top of my head. I enthusiasm is and I can't exactly remember, but it's when you break it down into Latin, the word enthusiasm says like and it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, but it says I think it says like the work of God. And I'm not necessarily particular super religious, but I do like the idea of I think enthusiasm is the fuel of life. It really is. And if you can find a passion in your enthusiasm, and I just thought it was interesting the definition that the Latin word had for it. That is what drives everything that I do. It's because I'm very enthusiastic about it, and then I'm genetically given with a crap ton of energy, which was extremely negative when I was a kid. I was seen in a very negative way, and
Yep.
but I was lucky because I had a mom who didn't believe in meds and all that kind of stuff, and so she just taught me to channel my energy into something positive. So it's always been that, right? When I was a kid, by the time I was 8 or 9, I was playing 5 times I was like in a I think the first competitive sport I'd entered was tennis at the time. I was practicing 5 times a week already at 9. And then, I was doing some taekwondo on the side at the same time. And then I played. It was a way to channel my energy. So I grew up learning to contain that because it's a gift and a curse, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It gets you to no good if you don't put it in the right place. So that's that's my gift. Like I don't know. It's hard to say. It's like some people are extremely talented at doing X. My talent that I was born with is a crap ton of energy, and then you mix that with enthusiasm, and then the final ingredient, which is something I've been working really hard at, and I'm not nowhere near where I want to be, but I believe a lot in there's a saying says that discipline equals freedom. So if you combine discipline, enthusiasm, and energy together, you can turn a lot of I sleep 7 8 hours a night. I'm just very very on point when I'm up. Like I'm life is structured. I try to block time off and to be focused on these things, and then I just kind of do one at a time, and then I don't know. It's for me, it's not that complicated, but I understand where this comes from. I mean, my wife asks me all the time where the energy comes from, and I don't really have an answer for that. It just is. So I utilize it as much as possible, but yeah, and then the lifestyle part of it is that if you because I chose to make content, and I chose to make content about the outdoors. So all of it revolves around that essentially, right? So my friendships I've created over the last 3 years, a lot of them are content creators or people that are fanatics about the outdoors. And yeah, it's just what it is.
No,
But I mean, I don't have other hobbies. Like my passion is my hobby, and that's all I do. That's the other thing too, right? Like, I haven't picked up my guitar really in a long time. Like I'm very focused on this one thing right now. I read a little bit here and there. I try to always have a book on the go just because it's a good way to wind my brain down at the end of the day. It's a good way to put me to sleep. But other than that, it's just wake up. I treat it like brushing my teeth, whether it's training, having to work on the business, spending time. They're non-negotiable, and I just every day chip at it. And then if I'm tired one day and I just want to put it aside, then I take a day off altogether, and I allow myself that. And then the next day I come back and I'm at 100%, and I go. Yeah, it is what it is.
no, good for you.
Yeah.
I don't imagine there are many, judging by the volume and just sort of watching what you do. My kids would make fun of me for saying do. They're
At a
older
certain
though.
age. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm sure you don't take many days off. You like it. It just seems like you're just that guy. You're
I
just
just love working.
yeah.
Like I genuinely enjoy it. Like it's funny. I just dropped my parents off at the airport a couple of weeks ago. They were off to Spain. They're retired and they're going there for 3 months. They like to spend time away in the wintertime. And I was dropping them off, and I'm like, I don't envy you guys at all. Like I appreciate getting up and working right now. Like I'm sure life will change, my perspective will change. I understand. Like I've lived enough to understand that your state of mind is forever changing. But in this moment right now, it's like I love going out and just having a storyline, an idea that I want to share, and just spending a day or two out in the bush, putting this together, and then spending through 30 hours editing it after, and
It's
just trying to see if I can pull. Uh, it's very thoughtful what I'm trying to do. So, anyways, and I love that. And then at the same time, while I go to work, and my work, to be honest, I've positioned myself in a pretty good place at work. Like, I've been I don't chase the corporate ladder at all at work. I'm very, very, very satisfied where I'm at. It pays what I need it to pay. I was a lifeguard growing up. That's how I met my wife. We were both lifeguards on the pool deck for the city of Ottawa. One thing led to another. I joined management team. Now I manage a facility with a pool and all that. And I've been doing this since I'm 18, and now I'm 35. So for me, it's like I work is very simple because it hasn't changed in forever, but that's by design because I don't need work to be anything else than just a place I spend 8 hours a day. I know everything that's going to happen. I know how it's going to play out so that it can pay, because I had to settle really young because I had my kids when I was 23, 24. Right. And I had them 11 months apart, and my wife and I just took on that adventure together, and it's been great. But I had to, compared to a lot of my friends, I sacrificed all of my 20s in many ways to, get us to where we are today, which is, I say that not in a negative way. I say that in a very positive way, but I mean, like, compared to all my friends, like I did not do what my friends did in their 20s at all. Like, like we lived very separate lives. But fast forward to, 10 years later, kids are 9 and 10. And now I do have a lot more time on my hands now that the kids are 9 and 10 compared to when they were 1 through 5. And things work out right now. There's no major crisis in the house, so things are just kind of working out. So I'm pretty lucky and grateful about it, to be honest. I'm just riding the wave. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. And so perfect segue, riding the wave. So I watched that video with you and the kids doing I don't know, it was a river in the middle of nowhere, I assume in Quebec.
Yeah.
Uh
Mississippi Northwest
okay.
River up north. Yeah.
All
In the
right,
boreal
cool.
forest of
Yeah,
Quebec.
what the drone footage is like, it's trees with a winding thing
Yeah.
of water in the middle, and then rocks and a lot of white water, uh, which is cool. I have no experience in it. I also have a Kevlar canoe. I don't know. I make the assumption it's a Royal X or
Yeah. Well,
what's the other one? Tough
Royal
Stuff.
X. Yeah. Royal X, like the material went out of business a while back. I guess it used to be a military
Yep.
uh anyways, so that it's not being used. So Skiff has made their own proprietary material, which they call T4Max, which
T4 Max. Okay.
yeah, which is very similar. It's like plastic, foam plastic, like, and it's pressed together. It's very
Yep.
similar to Royal X. It's just a different, I guess, proprietary material,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the copyright? Right. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it doesn't own the patent or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it essentially makes for a relatively bomb-proof canoe.
Oh yeah.
Unlike Kevlar, it's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
look, there's a rock over there. Oh, my canoe just fell apart.
Yeah.
It- so making the assumption that was a first or a relatively first go around with the girls in the canoe, and being, that tall, how was it terrifying to plan, and then was it amazing to do? I know it was amazing to do. I watched it. That was
Mhm.
amazing to simply watch. That was such a cool video. Like, again, back to being a dad,
Yeah.
I would give a body part to do that with my boys.
So, it's a good question. I mean, the first time I ever did, before I get into this one, a bit of like of a background. The first
Mhm.
time I've ever been on a backcountry camping trip with my girls, I went to the Adirondacks with Charlotte. We did car camp, but we did climb one of the mountains in the summertime. We were hiking, and then after that, that would have been end of May or something like that. And after that, it was so like I was like, we got, because I had taken a bit of a hiatus with the outdoors, right? I mean, like I had a brand new career at the time. I had two young kids that just showed up in our lives, really, back to back. So like I didn't have a whole lot of time then because I was trying to figure it out. And I got sick for a little bit too because I was building the triplex we were about to move into. So it was a bit of a chaotic time. But once we got our feet underneath us, um, my outdoor mentor that I met way younger, his kids were the same age or are the same age as mine. I just started super early compared to everybody else. So we got together, started to go out again. So the first time I ever went out with both the kids, Rosie was in diapers 24/7 at the time still. And so it was me, Guillaume, my two kids, and his four boys. Just the two of us. We went out and we did a bike packing trip. So I've been doing that kind of adventures with my kids ever since Rosie would have been at the time. I can't remember the timeline of when you get potty trained, but she would have been 2.5,
Yep.
maybe
Yep.
max
That's right.
three,
Yep.
3 years old, right? She was just on the end, like she was about to be like, potty trained. So I've been doing these kinds of things. Then I went from bike packing, which was the first trip like that, because it was easier for me to carry all the gear if I could just ride it on my bike and pull the kids behind, and then went from there to canoe trips on, flat water canoe trips, portaging and all that kind of stuff,
Yep.
to last year being like, let's hit the river. It was really like it was kind of like you're talking about like 7 years worth of like building up to get to that in some sense, right? So it was, I was very excited to go up north. I had never been that, well, I had been that far north before to go visit the major dams, northern Quebec, with my dad when I was probably 14, 15. We drove up there. But other than that, I hadn't been up north in a long time, and certainly not for a wilderness canoe trip or anything like that. So I was just very excited to go out. And my neighbor here, who has four boys as well, kind of all a little bit older than mine, but he's a big time. Him and his wife were big river guides for a decade, so their level of experience is through the roof. So anyways, we got together. It's like, let's do something really fun, like let's bring the kids up north, let's just go out. So none of this was stressful to me. The other thing too with white waters, you can always walk all the rapids, which was the premise going in, right? With all the kids, it was like, hey, let's go. Hey, we get to a rapid, we scout it. If you feel like doing it, you do it. If you don't feel like doing it, you walk it. And sometimes you might walk some, sometimes you might do them. It doesn't really matter. For us as adults going on a backcountry canoe trip with the kids, what's nice on a river is that because of the level of talent that we had within the adults, we knew we wouldn't have to portage anything. So it just makes our lives way easier. Because if the kids want to walk it, then I'll just grab like an adult will do it twice, and just not having to carry all that gear is just nice.
Right. So do two rounds.
Yeah,
of
I just do
canoes.
2
Okay.
trips,
Cool.
right? So
Yep.
so that's why we kind of went for the river, just because we didn't feel like portaging anything really. So that was fun. And then we got out there, and You know, my youngest Rosie is not as daredevil as the one at the front, Charlotte, that was
Yeah.
there just like screaming, like she really enjoyed it. Rosie in the middle was, which is why we call this boat White Knuckles, because Rosie in the middle was just like white knuckling the gunnels the whole time, right?
But she
So
went. So
she
that's
did.
good, right?
She skipped the first class 3 we did. She skipped it. She walked it. She needed to see it. She needed to see it. And then Charlotte and I ran a really good line. And you know, a class 3 can be very intimidating, but if you run a good line, you can miss a lot of the splash, right? So we ran a really good line. I went to pick up Rosie after, and she's like, "Oh, good." And then really the big class 3, that's the thumbnail of the picture. It seems way bigger and intimidating than it is, but all it is a one hit rapid. It's just a drop, one wave, boom, you hit it. And even if you swim after, I mean, you not everybody enjoys swimming in rapids, but there's no consequences after, there's no obstacles. It's just a big pool after. So we did that rapid like 4, 5, 6 times. Like it's just like how many times, because it was just such a unique place to hit such a big wave like that, right? And just get it. So no, it was fun. It was really fun. I really liked it. The most challenging part about the trip was because it was up north. It wasn't because the kids were, well, it was because it was because the kids, but it wasn't because the whitewater, I mean. Um and I think this is something it's something I'm sharing a lot with my audience here and there when I talk about it, because I think it's important if you want to keep the kids interested into whitewater canoeing or took into the outdoors. This whitewater canoe trip was far more for me than for them. And if we're going to go together, I think it's important that the focus stays on what they want to do. And what I mean by that is if you go up north like this, we drove 15 hours north plus the shuttle of 2-3 hours up there, and then after that the 5-6 days out there is fine, that's not a problem. But being up north like that, the bugs are significantly worse than what they're used to down here. And it's never that warm, and my kids like to swim, so there was no swimming, there was a lot of bugs, it was a lot, so it was still fun. But coming back from it, like really like having a bit of you know, just like a retro thinking about it, like just kind of post thinking about it. I was like, I think next year we'd be far better off doing the Madawaska together, the Petawawa, something that's
Yep.
close by. It's not as demanding for the kids in terms of just the driving around and all of that. And they didn't appreciate the fact that it was north. I think they're a little young for that, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
next year we'll focus a lot more on camping. And the other thing too is that the days were long on the boats, and my kids don't like to be that long on the boats. So so um so next year we'll focus a lot more on the camping aspect. Small days, couple of rapids on the Madawaska, nice campsite you can swim, have fun, just to make sure they still enjoy it. Because I don't think, I asked them, I said, "You guys want to go back up north?" They said no, and I understand why. It's fine, like it's not for everybody, and that's okay. And it'll more than likely be for them if they choose to continue later.
Yeah.
Like
15 years from now, that'll be totally up their alley.
yeah,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Maybe,
So
maybe not 40 years from now, but whatever. Mhm. So,
well,
'cause
yeah, because 5, 6 years from now, they won't want to come anymore, which is part of,
Yes.
part of life. It's pretty normal. It is what it is. But then, by the time they get to 20, 22, then they might enjoy,
Go back to it. Yeah.
yeah, go back to it. At the level of comfort I'll be able to provide it by then too.
yeah, true. Well, and so one of your videos, you were enjoying a cup of hot water and you said, I don't know if it's just because I'm old now. It's like, dude, let me tell you about being
No.
old. All right. But yes, so kids, we've got a 17 and just shy of 21, and
Yeah,
I totally know where it's going because we're there. Although
yeah,
my 21-year-old, nah, I might get one more trip out of him this year if I pressure him hard, and
yeah,
then I'm not going to see him for 4 years. And
yeah,
then
of course.
by the time he's hits mid to late 20s, he's going to go, hey, I missed the camping trips. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Come on back.
I was when I was 18 to 21, like those, like you think I'm busy now, like I wasn't, like back then I forgot to sleep for 4 years, I think, like between going to school, working full time, the social life, I met Nat eventually, I was playing a ton of music. So like, yeah, you get to a point where it's like it's time to explore, and this is when you have the most energy. And So yeah, I would assume the kids are going to start
Do it.
doing a lot of stuff that they would just won't have time for it.
Yep, yep, and
Yeah,
that's cool. They need to go and do
of
that thing
course.
as we all
Yeah,
did. So
yeah.
that's fine. Cool, cool.
Did you grow up in the outdoors, Marty?
I did, to a degree. I do way more today than I've ever done before, but, I think like a lot of like, uh, middle class middle class families, I think in Canada, a lot of the holidays or the family vacations were car camping, around the country here and there. It just seems to be an affordable way, at least in the 90s and to go around. So that's what we did a lot. Like we used to go to Virginia Beach and all that kind of stuff with my parents. So and the way to we would be able to afford it would be car camping. And so that introduced me to camping. But then, as I've mentioned many times, when I was 9 years old, I met Guillaume, who eventually became a huge mentor of mine in my life in general, but certainly my outdoor mentor. And he was just telling me he's 10 years older than me. He was telling me all of his stories, right? He's 19 years old. He had been a part of the scouts forever back then, like growing up. So and by the time you're 19, like you're kind of your own leader within the troops, I guess, my understanding. So they were planning all these crazy trips to the Adirondacks and canoe trips, and he was whitewater kayaking on the Ottawa River, and that left a big mark. And I was very impressionable at the time, and that left a big like desire in my heart. And he used to tell me all these stories, and a lot of when I say stories matter to me, like I'm referring to those moments, like those drive up to Quebec City from Ottawa to Quebec City when we used to go skiing. Our families were friends, so we used to go skiing, and we sit at the back seat, and he'd just tell me all these crazy stories of his adventures, like those were so meaningful that they are the genesis as to why I'm doing what I'm doing today. That's why I believe so much in stories, is because they change people's lives in many ways. So anyway, so that kind of opened up my world to the backcountry side of things, or the more wilderness adventures. And when by the time I was 12 years old, I had pestered my dad enough, and he had some previous experience of this, that he took me out to the Adirondacks for the first time when I was 12. Backpacking trip there, failed miserably, and then came back. But then the following August, 3 months later, we were out on the Noir River, and that certainly changed. That was the beginning of what became something I did yearly. Probably up until 20, once a year, I kind of did that, and then by the time the kids were back around, I was 26. This is when I started to try to be out as much as possible, right? So yeah.
Is there an underlying philosophy behind the videos that you make as far as you're trying to inspire other people or trying to protect wilderness? Is there something that drives you to make those kind of videos?
Yeah, the real deep meaning of what I try to do is I'm trying to provide meaningful, immersive backcountry camping videos. That's what I aim to do. And meaningful in a sense that um well, I'll get back to the meaningful, but the immersive side of it is I want the audience to get a real sense of what it is that it takes to do what I do, if that makes sense, like of all the steps. And that's why there's a lot of ASMR long sections in my videos. My videos are structured fairly similarly from one to the other, especially the last four. Like I feel like I found a way to tell a story that's really that I really appreciate myself. And it's like there are long sections where I don't talk, and it's very much I show you the steps. And if I'm gonna cut wood for 3 hours, I might make an edit of 3 minutes of cutting wood that can seem long, but I want to give that. I want that feeling to go through. When I say immersive, I want you to feel like you went with it through it with me in some sense. So that's one of the step. And then the meaningful side of this is um I believe a lot in chasing meaning in your life rather than anything else. So, if you've lived long enough, you understand that, or you'll have the experience at least, that if you chase happiness, happiness is an emotion that comes and goes. And if you chase happiness your entire life, what you end up finding is that maybe 50% of the time, or 40% of the time, you'll have failed at chasing that happiness, because it's just part of being part of the human experience, if you will, to be sad, to be mad. It's all that. So one thing that I, through some of the readings and the lectures I've listened when I was a bit younger, that really resonated with me was the idea of chasing meaning in your life. And the best way to find meaning in your life, the author was talking about, is if you answer the call to adventure in your life and you choose to carry the responsibilities that come with it, you will find meaning in that. And that goes a long way. I think if you can intentionally live a meaningful life, I think you'll be very happy when you're 85, 90, and you're about to go to the next realm of whatever it is. And so when I say meaningful, for me, what I'm trying to provide is the idea that if I can teach you something along the way in my video that could provide meaning for you to be able to go out and experience some of these things, if I can inspire someone to go out, and even if it's like, because camping is not hard, like it's not rocket science. If I show you how to cut a piece of wood, it's pretty easy after, right? Or if I give you the warm Nalgene water bottle and you put it in your sleeping bag, like it's not hard. It's more about knowing these things. So I like sprinkling a little bit of education in what I do, and I'll usually have like kind of one piece of education in each videos. Like my last video was about hydration in the wintertime. I kind of merged it into the story. Mount Washington was about how to dry yourself when you're all wet in the wintertime, you're cold camping. So I try to do that so I can give the tools for the folks to go out and answer the call to their own adventures, so they can hopefully find the meaning I found through the outdoors. And I think, I mean, it's a hard task to do because it's very personal to me, but it has provided so much for me. Like it's like the entire ethos of how I live comes from pushing my limits out in the outdoors. Because here's a great example. We talk about meaning. If you choose to answer the call of adventure to go out on a 7-day canoe trip, or if maybe your level of comfort is just to go out on an overnight car camping, that's also fine. The level of the intensity of the adventure doesn't matter. But let's take the canoe trip for example, and you choose to carry those responsibilities. What that means is that now you got to plan for it. You got to pull out all the maps. You got to plan for it. You've got to plan your food. You got to plan your gear, and all of that preparation. If you have ever entertained in this, you know that it's half the fun of the trip. It's very meaningful to entertain into that. Like it gets you closer with your buddies because, maybe you're 2, 3, 4, you're going out, you're creating relationships, you're planning, you're trying to figure it out. Then now you've taken on that responsibility. And now you take this, you pack the car, you go out, and then you're living it. And that's a whole other set of responsibilities to take on, like taking care of your, of maybe the people that are having a bit of a harder time during each different days, or going through the challenge of what it is to paddle over 10 hours of rain and having to find comfort into that, and then going through all these hard things on a trip, which in the moment can seem, especially if you're inexperienced, in the moment can seem too hard to understand why you're doing it, if that makes sense. But then when you get home, those are the stories that you tell. Like those are the moments that you talk about all the time. And that's kind of the proof in the pudding for me about when I talk about trying to provide some meaningful, immersive experiences. I want to try to give that to people, because I was very fortunate. Like now that I'm 35 years old and I can look back, it's like I was very fortunate to have met some very thoughtful people in my life at a young age when I was impressionable, that led me down a path that was extremely positive, and that has provided so much meaning. So it's like it's kind of my gift back from that really lucky circumstance for me to fall in. If I can do that at scale with an online platform, that would be the best legacy I could leave behind. And yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the whole philosophy behind what I do.
No, you totally do know, which is what you just explained, which is awesome.
I had never picked up a camera before I started this 3 years ago, so
Oh, you'd
uh,
never know. You're an
dude,
absolute natural,
it's
man.
like, yeah, but it was like I counted my hours just for the fun of it so far, and I think in 3 years I'm close to 3,200 hours in
That,
of hard work, actual hard work.
yep.
Yeah.
And to me that's super exciting, because what I know about anything is that I'm a third of the way there. Like before I reach my 10,000 hours, I'm not even thinking about if I've made it anywhere. Like to me, it's like that's the beauty of anything in life. It's like time is the great variable that nobody can fast track. If you're thoughtful and you put time into the things that you want to get better at, then there's time. And everybody plays time is the only variable that everybody plays at the same rhythm with. And 3,000 hours, and then I'm like, I'm so excited for what the next 3,000s are going to bring me. Like it's been a wild ride. So
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't. No, the way so okay, so that philosophy. Then I apparently want to get better at audio editing, and I do not want to get better at video editing
there
because
you go.
I am not interested in putting it. It's
Oh no,
such
that's
a
fine. It has to be driven by passion and enthusiasm. Yeah, otherwise you don't hold on to it. It's too hard. Like it is. It's got
yeah. Seem to
it's
be able to make some progress with the
yeah.
audio. I can't. I find it so cumbersome, and I'm not necessarily I'm piecing things together. I'm not necessarily your narrative is what drives. It's your story. Like you're
Mhm.
telling that, and I don't seem to have that, which is weird. I worked in film for like 20 years. I can't seem to figure out how to. It's glimpses. Photography, no problem. I can
Yeah.
tell stories in photography. I can't do it in moving pictures. I just can't.
Mm.
I can't seem to figure it out. So, and then editing it to I get so frustrated. I just like I don't want anything to do with it. The audio I can deal with. So
Good. Well, whatever works, man. Whatever
there you go.
works.
I'm just going to keep talking in a microphone, and that's it. That's why I'm done.
Talking to microphone is fun. I enjoy it.
Sure, it's weird. So, you mentioned the other night, you podcasted before, and then it just kind of went by the wayside while you were telling your video stories.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts? Are you thinking about reviving it at
Oh
some
yeah.
point, or yeah?
Yeah. See, most of what I do always have a very specific purpose to where I'm trying to go. So when I decided to start the podcast, I was like, okay, here's what's going to be. It's going to be me alone. I'm going to talk into a mic, and I'm not going to prep. And it's going to be horrible at first because the goal for me is to learn to be a really good ranter on a specific subject with no prep. I want to be able to express myself through stories without having to prep for it. So then that's why I started my podcast at the time. It's like the only way I'll get better is by practicing. So I would come up with like, 3 pieces of gear that, I wish I would have purchased earlier and just kind of go. Like I'd have like those topics. I would think a little bit about them when I'd be driving and all that. But the idea was to do that. And I found, first of all, I'm not perfect at it, but I got better at being more concise in my storytelling and at getting my points in with no prep. So that was interesting. And then turns out I really enjoyed it, and it served a really good purpose into the business model of creating content. So for me, I had next to no audience on the audio side of things. But where it became very, very valuable for me is that I would then take, because it was a video I would shoot essentially, then I would take that and I would cut it and I would make clips. So a poorly expressed idea over 5 minutes can be very well said in 45 if I edit it down. And those clips would get like 25, 30, 40,000 views pretty easily on Instagram. So that helped my model quite a bit. And so that's why I was like, whoa, I'm getting better at the thing that, because I want to get into public speaking over time, and I want to do that in a way uh that I'm very good at telling stories. Like my favorite teachers at school, they never taught anything, they just told stories, right? I'm getting better at this, although I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm getting better, and I'm getting benefits off of the clips I'm editing just because of awareness, and people appreciated my thoughts. I was like, this is just, I'm just winning on both sides. The problem is I just ran out of time. Like talk about time, like that was another 4 to 5 hours a week I had to give to, like an hour of sitting down and just yakking and just talking, and then 4 to 5 hours of editing down. And I'm pretty fast at editing, but still, like it would still like, so yeah, so that had to go with I don't know, I don't want to bore you guys out, but like, I own the so I own a triplex, which is I built when I was younger to move in with Nat and the girls. And then I own this house that I built 4 years ago, which is a bed and breakfast. And between COVID murdered the business up here like quite a bit. For 2 years we had zero clients, so we lost a significant amount of income.
Yep.
Opportunities. And then at the same time, both my mortgages, like I just redid my triplex, and I'm due for September for the house. And so all overnight, on top of having lost so much over 2 years, overnight I was short $30,000 just in mortgages raised, like gross, like it'd be 15 like flat. So it's like, so then 2023, I've had to become extremely thoughtful about how I was going to, because it's becoming very real when I'm building online in terms of like a financial avenue. But I'm still about 12 months away from it being really interesting. So I've had to sit down and really lay it all out and be like, okay, well, I need to make extra money. I don't want to rush this online thing. I've never rushed it. I was always honest about what I'm trying to build, but I never rushed it, and it's working fine. And I'm finding my groove. Like my voice is getting defined, and I'm finding the place I want to be. And I feel like it's authentic, because that was for 2.5 years. It took me a while to find the authenticity and how to create content, I'd say. And in the last 6 months, I feel like I really have been like landing into it. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to push that, so I'm going to reduce my output of videos to 26 videos a year instead of 52 plus. And then I'm going to cut the podcast, because it's not what's going to bring me money, like in terms, if we're talking like business wise. So I said I'll put that on the back burner for 2023. I'll take those hours, and I'm going to work on the sideline construction, which is I just do contracts at night and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so it was kind of my way to juggle all of it, but it for sure has to come back. It's too valuable. Like, even if nobody listens to it, the audio, the clips, and me getting better at public speaking is too valuable. Like those two things have given me enough to say, this is proof of concept. I need to keep doing it. So eventually I'll get back to it.
Cool. Well, and I find it interesting. Maybe not so much interesting as it's probably a smart move in a retaining your resources to go from 52 and back it up to 26. Make sure that it's still that good quality.
Exactly.
Make sure it's still that good content without stretching yourself out, without straining all the things. And then,
yeah, because after 3 years of doing this so intense, I have the ability to pull back without sacrificing my momentum, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It'll slow down how fast I can push that boulder, if you will, but it won't slow down my momentum. So that's working out great. And yeah, and then essentially, like, honestly, like I have, like, because I've been working for the city of Ottawa for 16 years now. I started so young. I have 5 weeks of holidays. So what I do to shoot, it's ridiculous. So what I do to shoot is I'll usually take a day off, like a Wednesday off. So put the kids on the bus to go to school, and then I'll leave on Crown Land to do an overnight, whatever idea I have. It, like, the last one was to make a natural shelter. I have I have these ideas that I want to do and express in stories. So I'll go and do that on Crown Land, which I'm lucky because it's about an hour drive from here. And then I'll literally just drive into work the next day. And because I work in Parks and Rec, my schedule, like, I'm management, so I don't have I need to work 40 hours a week. So I don't have like a schedule. So I'll
doesn't
just show
have
up
to start at 9.
I'll just show up at 10 the next day. It doesn't matter. And then work until 5 or 6. Or, I work a lot on the weekends. I get called all the time by the staff. So, like, all of that, just like hours wise, when you're in management, it's just very different. So that's kind of how I managed to get out, be like, okay, twice a month, I'll do that. And then my wife is an angel as well. So
Yeah, I know that one.
So she believes a lot in me, and she's always, the thing is that if you, the other side of things, that to me, it's like you've, if I can't have an expressive creative side, you will only have half the person you've married. Like, it's very much who I am. So finding that balance between nurturing all of it is the key. And that seems to work well for 23. We'll see where that goes, and we'll readjust as we go.
Well, it's good, and I mean, I think that's life in general. Like it's a constant evolution, whether
Yeah.
it's juggling how the kids, because the kids are growing up at different things, they're doing stuff. Better half is getting into other things,
Yeah.
whatever. It's that's what you do. You just juggle stuff, man. You just
Adapt,
smooth, make things go.
adapt, evolve.
Yeah,
Adapt, evolve, and never stop loving.
that's true. That's very true. Because and as you actually get to be old,
Yeah.
that's a really important thing.
Yeah.
You start to really take stock of things around you and how quickly they can disappear, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a shitty thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's the whole thing, man. I'm super stoked you invited me on. I'm doing a lot of podcasts this year. It's going to be kind of my way to put myself out there in an easy way without having to, strategic wise, like, so Dennis, I'm going to try to get on to Kevin's, and I'm popping around here and there. I did backpacking blisters as well. So those are easy. It's easy content for me to make, and I hope it brings value to your audience. And it's a bit different. What I like to talk about is, especially in the world of, most people like to talk about their trips, and I'm very much into the game of talking about what the outdoors brought me as a human, like what has made me, right? So hopefully that people will resonate with that, because yeah, it is what it is.
well,
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, that's what I popped in to ask you a question, then we did the green room thing. Christ, was that only last week? Oh my
Yeah,
god,
that was last week.
it feels like a while ago. But I don't want to blow sunshine up your ass. You're a really interesting guy. Like
Oh, thank you.
you're authentic. You have a natural, you can just say the things, like whatever works for you. There's no poking, there's no prodding. So from totally selfish, from our perspective, you're a dead easy interview. I just ask a question and sit back. Let you
If anything, you gotta pull back.
exactly. So in that sense, you're slightly different because often, well, certainly in the early days for us, it was somewhat structured. We've become much more laissez-faire about it. It's just, I very seldom, we do an intro, write a bio intro thing, and then it is, as I think I said something in one of the emails, we just have a conversation. Everybody's doing their thing, and if I see you going somewhere, I'll follow you. It's not a big deal. Like, and so,
because you develop that skill too, right? Like, it's,
I don't know.
well, you do. The more you do it, the more you do it, you learn to have conversation in a more organic way. And
Yeah,
let
absolutely.
the curiosity of the conversation carry itself, and then you take people along for the ride, which is
organic is a good word. Yeah, for sure. That's it. Camper Christina was very I need all the questions, I need all the things for our first one. Absolute sweetheart to come on. She taught us a ton about being good hosts and how to format things. And it took probably 5 or 6 months for me to go, you know what? The less that I do, the less I put it inside of lines, the happier I am. When I sit down to edit, I go, oh, this is a way better conversation than when we were going to talk about all these things.
Because it's a real conversation.
And it flows and all of those things. Yeah. And it's great. And I have no idea whether podcasts, I'm sure you get squat in the way of feedback. Like, people just don't, it's not the same as
real comment section, right? Yeah.
Yep. There's no chat.
This is why the clips on Instagram were so valuable, because then I get them all there, right? Like when I started to go after merino wool, dude, the comments were going, and I was like, okay, now I know I've got people's attention, right? I can keep talking about that, right? Like that's like so the clips on Instagram provide so much value as a creator to make sure that you're hitting something that people want to hear. At least that's what I've found for me.
All right.
It's very interesting.
I
Yeah.
might steal that from you then.
Oh, dude, I didn't invent it. Like I stole it from all the big podcasters of this world, cut their clips. Yeah.
So if there's something I feel we are missing, it is that feedback. I mean, you can look at downloads and stuff and get all the stats and go, okay, they keep enjoying us and more are enjoying us all the time. I have no idea what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So now I'm kind of doing what I like.
hmm
Which
And if it keeps growing in numbers, then it's a good sign. I was looking for the Chris Sprouse episode. Did you guys publish it?
it's not
I
up yet. No.
Oh.
So here's where we're at.
Okay.
You're dropping from 52 to 26. We're going in the other direction. We have so
okay.
much content,
Yeah.
and we have so in the early days, we actually just put up an episode today about how we how we got here, and one of the things is when we first started to have the idea of having guests on, I sent out, it's not easy to necessarily get a hold of them. You can, send their Instagram DMs, or you can find their whatever their business email on their YouTube, and you can send a note, and they don't know who the hell you are, or they do, or whatever, or they're just busy. Alexis Outdoors, she was one of the earlier ones that I approached. I have done over the course of a year 3 times in different varying ways. I've sent something out to her. Silence. So I don't know. You could end up in spam. I don't know. So that's how it sort of started. We're now at literally the polar opposite, where I send anything out within like the same day. I usually get out. Sure.
Yeah. It's great.
So I'm still in the mode of sending out to like 18 people, figuring I'm going to get 3 of them to get back to me.
It took me 2 years of working almost full time for anybody to start paying attention to me. Like it's okay. It's part of the grind, right? And rightfully so. Like now I'm really close with Xander and Max. John and I will talk as well. And Joe, like I've but it's like, it's almost like they've cut their teeth to become who they are. Before they let anybody in, it's kind of also normal that it's not about talent. It's about seeing how serious that person is. Like, okay, you've been grinding for 2.5. We've looked, like, because we all know each other. Like, let's be honest.
Yes. Yeah,
we all know each
absolutely.
other, so we all kind of know what's happening. And it's a big part of what we do is keeping on top of like what's happening, right? So we know what's happening. So now I feel like, and I think it's normal. I don't hold it against anybody. I try to be very close with the audience and with people, and I try to provide a lot of feedback to the people that ask me for feedback for content creators. But I understand why there is a bit of a, I don't want to call it a club, but there is a certain top tier that they'll allow you in once you've shown the dedication, because too many people come and go.
Oh, for sure.
It's not talent. It's like, so many people come and go, very few stick with it, and then you kind of recognize each other, because now you're like, dude, that grind is real. And it's like, yeah, like it's unique, right? That's actually what connects you. Yeah.
It's sorry to back up a little bit. It's not I'm not.
No, I didn't think you were, but it makes sense that now that you have 60 episodes, that people are just saying yes.
But suddenly, So now it's like, oh shit.
So you have lots of
because
episodes.
we publish one a month of a guest episode, we have enough to go beyond a year sitting in the bank, right?
That's great.
Now it's like, okay. So it's an enviable position, but yeah, we're about to double up on all the shit.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It is. It is. I'm hoping we're gonna hit the outdoor adventure show, and I don't know. I'm mostly I'm looking forward to fist bumps to actually physically meet everybody, right?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be just. I'm gonna spend a day just being blown away by that and catching some of the shows. But then it's going to go around. I'm going to go around and talk to some manufacturers and stuff and say, hey, maybe you want to throw something at us to make things be a little bit easier for us to continue to put out
Mhm.
the quality content. Because it's, well, as you just said, 4 hours, right? So that's the benchmark for me to take, because you were talking about an hour. I am not as quick as you to take that 40-minute interview and turn it into 30 minutes and make it
Mhm.
be all happy and clean and, I
Yeah.
EQ'd and shit. It's about 4 hours for me.
Oh, for sure. Well, it took me 4 hours to edit to turn them into clips. I wouldn't edit my audio. The idea was I needed to become so good, I didn't need to edit it. That was
Okay.
always the premise. So being bad was the purpose. It was what, because I would listen to me. I'm like, dude, you got to get your shit together. Right. So I would be very critical of myself. Like on my drive to work, I'd listen. I'd be like, kid, this was not concise. This was not like, and I would learn from it a lot. Like, so that was the idea of the podcast. But then it would take me about 4 hours to cut into clips. So it makes sense that it takes you about 4 hours to bring it down, and you put the EQ in and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Take out the
It's
ums and ahs
The ums and ahs are
and
brutal.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Nobody
So no,
knows how to
that
say
that
it.
that makes a lot of sense. I'm really hoping I can make it. Like I'm not even not I sorry, I haven't even not gone yet this year to the outdoor show, and I'm already having FOMO because I don't know if I'll be able to go, like just physically, time wise. Like
Yep.
it's going to be very much up in the air. My wife's super supportive, so it is a possibility. But on the flip side to that, for me, it's like, again, because of the status of this year, it's like it's more valuable for me to take those 2 days, 3 days and go shoot content
right.
in the purpose of what I'm trying to do, because I'm so crammed in time. So I don't, but it's like at the same time, it's like I want to go and hang out with Brit and Tunes. Like we're so close, like we get along so well. I want to go see them. I want to meet the rest of the people. I know Brad will be there and Leo, which I know them as well. So we've hung out before, so I'm looking forward to seeing them again, but also just to meet in person all the other people that I haven't, right? Like you guys and Dennis and Kevin and all that kind of stuff. Just because it's such a lonely pursuit. On the second year I started, so I started 2020, January 1st of 2021. I decided to start what I called a mastermind of content creator. So I reached out to three other friends of or content creators I had seen that were, kind of within their first or 2 years. And I said, hey, like, we all kind of know each other. I said, I've learned about this concept of mastermind, which is a group of entrepreneurs who seek the same goal, but kind of separately. It's a place where we can all go and kind of just like help each other and celebrate each other and just because it's such a lonely pursuit. Like nobody understands what I do. Like the skill set I've acquired about social media marketing is so unique. Like nobody, like when I say nobody, I mean nobody understands what I do. Like, oh, you make videos, sure. That's like the top
Right.
layer of what you
Yep.
see. Like everything else that's underneath. And when you have a win and you're like, oh, I just made 1,000 views in, I don't know, 24, whatever it is. It's like nobody understands how hard it is to get that.
Oh,
So I
I get
found a group of people and I called it the mastermind. I got Justin Outdoors in there from Out West, Backcountry Exposure, and anyways, and Devin from and My Life Outdoor Stevens in there now too, because it grew over time. But like this has been like my little heaven of like content creators where like we laugh and cry together. Like it's been so, but it's fun to go and meet people in person because it's such a lonely pursuit. It really is. Like,
it is. It's interesting to do this, but it's
yeah, it's
if that
never the
makes
same.
sense, right?
It's
It,
never the same.
yeah, it's
And like we're all gonna go out for dinner, have a drink, loosen up a little bit, chill, just like, we're always this is also business all the time too, right? So in some sense, so it's like
yep,
it'll be
yep,
fun to take the veil of the camera off and just like the makeup off and just be as well. Like not that it's not from what I've lived with the Rat Pack when I was very fortunate to be invited. I didn't know I was very surprised I made the
that
cut.
was cool. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Um you realize that everybody's like what they are on the camera. So that's pretty cool. Like that was very fun. But still, like when there's no camera around too, like there's also a different vibe. Because when there's a camera, my friends tell me this all the time. There's always a third person on the trip, the audience.
Right.
Right. So it's fun to be without camera.
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
be together. Yeah,
And it's that little bit of pressure that doesn't exist now. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
There's nothing. You're not.
yeah. And you can bond, you can laugh, and so I'm really hoping I can make it out. Probably sleep in Tunis and Brit's bathroom floor or something. No, they have a second bed, so I'm hoping I can get into that, or I'll figure something out. I'm not exactly sure, but um it's the time. It's like, is it, I would leave Ottawa, right after work on Friday, drive up, do this, whatever we do Friday night, Saturday all day, the Saturday evening, and then probably try to leave around. Knowing these guys and at least the amount of partying we did at the outing, if I can leave at 8 o'clock, I'll be pretty happy in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah.
8
Well,
or 9. So
we're planning to do
yeah,
not wow, maybe Friday.
yeah.
It wasn't part of the plan, but since we're in Toronto,
Oh, do you guys live in Toronto
yeah, yeah.
or like in one of the suburbs?
No,
Right
we're
in
in
Toronto.
Midtown, right in the middle, smack dab.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
a
okay.
busy city compared to where
It,
I live.
it's a very busy city. It's nuts.
And
We're
what do you guys
thank
do for a living? Are you, at retiring age, or are you?
not
We
quite
wish.
that old.
No, I didn't mean
No,
I
no,
didn't
I'd
mean to
love to.
insult you. I
I'd
just
love
don't know
to.
what you guys do.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I would give a body part for that as well, or sell a child, whatever. Um, we are. Uh, she'll never retire. I don't think. She loves what she does.
Good for you.
She's a naturopathic doctor. She makes
Uh,
people be
yeah,
better.
yeah,
I'm a building manager, so when you talk about managing and having things set up that it does its own thing, and
yeah,
you've been doing it for 15 years or whatever, you're along for the ride. Same deal. I'm
yeah.
at that point now where my bosses call me to ask me questions about shit that they should do. Like
Yeah.
it's that kind of a deal. So it's
So you
I
manage properties, like rental properties in town, or
rental. Yeah. So I managed,
oh,
technically I
that's a
managed
shit.
2 buildings.
That's hard.
Most of the time it's not now.
Okay, that's good.
It's I have my tenants trained well
Yeah,
so that they know where and what to do. And I've spent 13 years or something getting my buildings to run themselves. Like everything's
good.
tickety boo. So
Yeah,
it's not really training. I spend most of my time training other people to run their buildings
I
so that
see.
they can get to that point.
Mhm.
So it's not yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a
sounds
big
fun.
deal. The unfortunate side is I rotate on calls, and then I only get 3 weeks. So it's about being
Mm,
creative and talking. One of the things with the interviews we've been doing is talking to other people to how they squeeze more out of their amount of, like, take a weekend and take an extra day, one day.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
you just got 3 days, but it only cost you one. So it's about being smart about your planning.
Yeah, yeah, trying to line up the holidays too as well and whatnot, and yeah, no, for sure for that. Yeah, but I lucked out. I was 18 years old. I joined the city as a lifeguard, and then I'm 35 now, so like it's like I've got
5 weeks, man.
yeah, it's pretty insane. Like I when I went full time at 24, I already had 4 weeks. I was like, whoa. But I never come around to using all of them because it's like I don't I just unless I'm doing something very purposeful, like going on a long trip or something like that, it's like the work is not hard enough for me to take time off. Like it's fun to go. Like it's not like I don't know. I'm in rec. Like it's pretty fun to start. Like it's recreation. Like there's a gym at work. There's a pool. There's my staff. I get along well with everybody. We do our thing, and then so it's like it's not really hard. And then I like working less every day, if that makes sense,
Yep.
than taking full weeks off because I hate the like the load of work when I come back.
I that one I totally agree with. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
come back to
like
a pile
taking
of
a
shit. It's like,
Wednesday off is great
where
because you
was
do
the
get what
vacation?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
could, if I'm not here, that work shouldn't be waiting for me when I get back. That
Exactly.
work should have been done
Yeah.
and go away. I don't
Yeah.
want to know about that work.
And my wife's been at home ever since we had kids too. So like, that's we have the bed and breakfast, so she's been here. So like the home life has been very stable for the kids as well. So that's been, quite a fortunate thing to be able to have. And we'll take 2-3 days off, together, and or 4 days. But it's also like, the last like 3-4 years financially, it's not like I had money to go down south with everybody anyway. So it's not like I could take 2 weeks off really and do something productive other than sitting around here and do nothing. So I've kind of kept it and got cashed out here, or just let's go on a trip together, canoe camping. And so I end up never using them all. I don't know. We'll see if this year I run through them more.
That's an enviable position to be in.
Oh, it was very strategic to end up where I'm at.
Sweet. Sweet, man.
So yeah, it's good. It's good. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I both of you, Pam and Tim, I had a good time. Anytime
Cool.
you guys are looking for guests, I'm always up for the task.
Oh, we'll hit you up again. Don't worry about it. Absolutely.
We can talk
I-
about anything. We can talk more specific about camping and tips and all that. We can talk about more stories that are more
I'm sure that
thoughtful.
I can come up with a handful of things, and I'm sure that I can just ask you one question and sit back. So not a worries.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it,
No
man.
problem.
Go enjoy the hell out of your kids and do
Yeah.
more of those
And your wife.
those canoeing videos.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
What did you say?
She said, and your wife.
Yeah, no, both. We there's a lot of time in all this too. Like it's fascinating to me from the outside what people think my life is. It's not like, every day I sit down with my wife, I have a glass of wine, or coffee, and we talk. Yeah, I found that life resides in the small moments of every day. If you live for the big trips once a year, you grow apart. It's about the 15, 20 an hour you get together coming back from work and enjoying those every day. And then you compound those. Next thing you know, you spend, I came back, I had to work. I came back at 7 o'clock here, and then 8:30 here right after. Right. So, 7, I walk in the house and I was like, hey, who wants to play a board game? So kids and I played board games for an hour. Then I went to put them to bed, and then my wife is out helping another friend. So I'm alone tonight, but then they put them to bed and I came down here. Like, I don't know. I feel pretty lucky to have like a solid hour of like a thoughtful, meaningful moment with them playing a game where, so I don't know. I don't, it's good.
It is. And life would be boring as shit if it wasn't at least somewhat busy, right?
Yeah.
Doing all those things. So yeah, I don't think we're miles apart in how we perceive and enjoy those moments. I usually stay up later.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts is when she's going to bed and she comes out and
My favorite part.
I get extra kisses on the way to bed,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
and then I flip open whatever the latest Adam Schultz or the
Kevin
latest Kevin Callan book, and spend half hour, 45 minutes with my little window of me time doing the
Yeah.
camping thing.
Yeah.
It's
I try to give a foot massage to my wife every day. That forces us to sit together.
I offered him one last night, and he was like, no.
There you go, man.
Yeah. It's super nice getting to know you guys.
Very cool.
Thank you again.
And hoping you can make it. I would love to get a fist bump, man.
It's part of the plan. I'm just waiting to see if last minute things come up in terms of like the side jobs I have to do too, right? So it's also like, yeah. So doing a ton of rentals. So we'll see.
Cool. Well, here's hoping it works out, dude.
Yeah. Cool.
If not,
Okay.
we'll be hitting you up for another episode not too far down the road.
Anytime.
All right, brother.
Love it. Okay. Cheers, guys.
Be good.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.